Sophie Cunningham showed that she is, the old Caitlin Clark enforcer. She is the Caitlin Clark enforcer. That has been shown. She is the enforcer that the Fever have needed for the last year, and she has responded.
What does it take to prides itself on skill, finesse, and growing popularity? Sophie Cunningham's transformation into Caitlin Clark's on-court bodyguard.
Surprise you.
Right, this is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition. So
the game against the Connecticut
a raw debate about how far a teammate should go when referees fail to protect a franchise player, and whether the WNBA can handle the very intensity it claims.
Question said it all.
By the way, Sophie Cunningham, if she wanted to, it looked like Sophie Cunningham was about to throw some knees at her. Like, she had her in an MMA hold. Like, Sophie Cunningham could have got this MMA fight ended. She could have got this fight ended quickly.
The
crowd noted
with a seemingly routine matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun that quickly turned into a headline-grabbing clash of physicality, refereeing controversy, and a show of loyalty so fierce that it instantly cemented Cunningham's reputation as the new enforcer of the WNBA.
Again, stepped up for her players in the midst of the officiating issues. This video courtesy of Scott Agnes.
there wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition. So I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they got to get control of it. They got to be better. Every year when we have our league meetings in the fall and in the spring, we say the same thing over and over and over. And nothing has changed.
Cunningham's action.
When the NBA's biggest stars were shielded by teammates willing to throw an elbow or eat a technical foul to send a message. When JC Sheldon's hand swiped across Caitlin Clark's eye, it didn't just interrupt the possession. It reignited a conversation about whether the league does enough to protect the very athletes drawing sellout crowds and record-breaking broadcast deals. And it lit a spark in Cunningham that turned a heated play into a declaration that Clark, despite being a rookie, would not be left to stand alone. As Marina Mabrey added fuel by shoving Clark to the floor, the atmosphere shifted from tense to explosive, and Cunningham's reaction was instant and visceral. With no hesitation, she squared up to Mabrey, chest out, arms wide, posture rigid with intent. The kind of body language that sports fans instantly recognize as the line between just playing tough and being ready to throw down a provoked. And in that heartbeat, the entire Fever bench rose to their feet. The arena crowd roared in approval or shock. And even the Suns bench knew the dynamic had shifted, because when a player shows she's willing to back up her star with more than just words, the rest of the league takes notice, whether they admit it or not. This wasn't just about a moment in one game. It was about an unspoken code being rewritten in real time. One where the responsibility for player safety shifted from the officials to the shoulders of one bold teammate. Technical fouls followed, but did little to settle the brewing storm. Clark got one despite being the victim. Mabrey got hers, and Cunningham's actions, though technically not illegal at that point, became the emotional center of a sequence that revealed the cost of passive refereeing. In that sequence alone, fans online and in the stands saw not just a rookie pushed around, but a star player who symbolizes the league's growth being treated like any other target for intimidation tactics. If you rewind to the early years of the NBA's modern era, you'll remember the Jordan rules, a defensive scheme so rough that Michael Jordan's teammates, like Charles Oakley, often made it their job to ensure fouls didn't go unanswered. And in that instant, Cunningham inherited that same responsibility. Whether she planned to or not, it's telling that while some critics worry, her approach invites escalation or more physical brawls. A massive segment of Fever fans and even casual observers saw her stand as the exact energy this team needs to stand tall in a league where no superstar should fear losing an eye or need the defenders pushing the envelope, all while the referees hesitate to keep the game clean. What makes Cunningham's new role so impactful is that it's not just a symbolic flex. It tangibly alters how the Fever play and how their opponents must plan. Immediately after that Sun matchup, subtle changes in defender behavior were visible. Fewer body checks on Clark's drives, defenders given just a fraction more space. On screens and stepbacks, the psychological effect of knowing that roughing up Clark now comes with an instant physical check from Cunningham is priceless. And for a rookie still adjusting to pro-level defense, that small mental safety net gives Clark the green light to stay aggressive instead of second-guessing every cut or lane attack. This echoes the strategic purpose of an enforcer throughout basketball history, and while the WNBA has never officially embraced this archetype, Cunningham is forcing it into the modern narrative, leaving coaches and analysts to debate whether this is a welcome old-school element or a sign that the league's officiating standards need urgent overhaul. Some league veterans argue Cunningham is risking too much. They point out that suspensions for repeated physical retaliation could hurt the Fever in tight playoff races, especially when her minutes matter for spacing the floor and providing secondary scoring. Yet supporters fire back that losing a few games of Cunningham is worth it if it stops repeat cheap shots on Clark before they escalate into injuries that could derail a whole season. There's also a deeper cultural undercurrent here. For years, the WNBA has fought to prove its players are as tough and competitive as any athletes in the world. Yet ironically, when that toughness manifests as a teammate willing to brawl to protect a star, it unsettles some fans and commentators who prefer a cleaner game, but don't realize that without such protectors, skilled players have to absorb more punishment with little recourse. Inside the Fever's locker room, sources say Cunningham's stance has bonded the team in a way no pregame speech ever could. Rookies and veterans alike know that one of their own is ready to throw her body into the fire to keep the team's centerpiece safe. And while Cunningham herself downplays it in post-game interviews with a shrug and half a grin behind closed doors, she's reportedly become a louder presence in huddles, reminding everyone that tough defense is fine, but crossing the line is everyone's business, not just the refs. This cultural shift within the team could be pivotal as the season progresses, because history shows that tight-knit squads who trust each other to handle dirty work are the ones who claw through playoff battles where fouls multiply and tempers run hot outside Indianapolis. Rival teams are quietly rethinking how they'll match up against the Fever moving forward. Defenders and coaching staff are spending more time on film, not just analyzing Clark's offensive patterns, but also discussing what happens if they foul her too hard. Do they risk Cunningham's wrath and the potential for double technicals or ejections that swing momentum? This mental calculus is exactly what makes an enforcer effective without throwing a single punch. And it's already paying dividends as Clark's points in the paint and free throw attempts tick upward, a sign that she's regaining comfort, attacking the rim despite knowing there's a target on her back every time she steps on the hardwood. Meanwhile, the league office finds itself under the microscope because Cunningham's stand has amplified calls for a clearer, tougher officiating protocol for dangerous fouls on marquee players. While some officials privately admit they'd rather let players play through it, sponsors, broadcasters, and fans pouring millions into this new wave of WNBA fandom are pushing back, demanding that their star attraction not be left at risk of injury from unchecked aggression. Yet so far, the league's official response has been minimal, with no concrete policy change or disciplinary statement, leaving everyone from team owners to Twitter commentators asking if the WNBA is moving fast enough to adapt to a new era where the spotlight and stakes are higher than ever. Social media has become a battleground for this debate. Clips of the eye poke and shove, spliced with slow motion replays of Cunningham stepping in, have gone viral, racking up millions of views and polarizing reactions. One side lauds her as the hero Clark didn't even know she needed. The other side worries that celebrating a teammate's near brawl sends the wrong message to younger fans and sets a precedent that retaliation is the best way to handle poor officiating But at the core of this back and forth is an uncomfortable truth. When referees fail to keep games fair, players feel compelled to enforce their own justice. And that gray area is precisely what Cunningham has thrown into the league's face, daring them to fix it, or watch as other teams find their own enforcers to fill the void. For Caitlin Clark herself, insiders say her respect for Cunningham has skyrocketed. Behind her stoic on-court demeanor, sources close to the Fever say Clark has told teammates privately that knowing Sophie has her back gives her a mental freedom she hadn't felt in weeks, allowing her to keep her focus sharp on breaking rookie records and pushing the Fever into playoff contention, rather than constantly anticipating the next blindside foul that might knock her out of the lineup. This invisible psychological armor is priceless for a player whose presence alone can swing ticket sales and national viewership numbers. And the Fever front office surely knows it as the season rolls on. All eyes are on two things: whether Cunningham's protective presence will lead to more fines and possible suspensions that test the team's depth, and whether the WNBA will finally implement stricter consequences for cheap shots before another viral shelf or eye poke dominates headlines. For now, one thing is certain: Sophie Cunningham has redefined what it means to have your teammates back in the WNBA. And whether fans love her or loathe her new role, they can't ignore the fact that she's forcing the league to confront uncomfortable truths about how it treats the stars driving its future.